And I'm here today to share with you a little piece that I wrote from my childhood traumas. It's called My Tears Are Constant. My mother Emma and my grandmother Texana raised me to the best of their abilities. At my innocent age of 7, I knew nothing of their struggles of surviving on welfare. I was beginning to have struggles of my own. We lived on 37th Street in Oakland between St. Pablo Avenue and West Street in a rundown apartment house. It was so old it probably was the first house built in the neighborhood. Unlike most other houses, it had no green grass and no colorful flowers. My mother worked cleaning white folks' homes, which she did undercover so one would know. She was given all kind of household items, but a television set never blessed our dwelling, although we did get an old radio. My mother enrolled me in Longfellow Elementary School. I felt she abandoned me there because attending school was the beginning of my childhood traumas. School for me was a maze of physical brutality. No matter which way I turned, I got beat down. Besides the bullies at school, the neighborhood bullies also made my life a living hell. It quickly got to the point that I feared going outside to play. Neighborhood bully number 1 was older, taller, and weighed about 3 times as much as me. He was cross-eyed with an offensive odor, and none of his clothes fit him properly, making him look like a hobo clown. Neighborhood bully number 2 was about my age and height, but weighed less than me. He used a shoestring for a belt and looked like a human skeleton made into a puppet, which made me want to laugh. But it was no laughing matter. They threatened me constantly and were always teaming up to attack me. My family didn't seem to understand or care what I was going through. Fighting is a part of life, my grandmother said. Sooner or later, you have to stand up and fight your damnedest, win or lose. But I'm getting beat up by 2 people at a time, I protested. Well, do your best, she replied. I stayed silent, but it didn't seem fair. I'm the one getting beat up and robbed every day, I thought. It's my face and body that's getting hit so much that I'm getting used to the pain. I swore someday I would get revenge. One day after school, my bullies beat me up in front of their friends and some cute girls. They all seemed to think my pain and shame were funny. Somehow I managed not to cry. When I made it back to my house, my grandmother heard my sniffles and thought I was catching a cold. She made me a hot toddy consist of tea, a little sugar, and whiskey. By the time I finished her toddy, I felt extremely different. In fact, I felt fearless. I started coughing so my grandmother would make me another. She did, and then told me to go lie down on my bed and not go outside. But at this particular time, I didn't feel like being in bed. I felt powerful like Superman, and I wanted revenge. I crawled out my bedroom window and went in search of my neighborhood bullies. I found neighborhood bully number 2 and attacked him with all my pent-up rage. He screamed and cried for someone to help him. And in that moment, I experienced a strange power over him that made me feel greater than I ever had before. Standing over him, I asked, how does it feel to be me, helpless and alone? As I grew into my adulthood, my mind became fixated on my childhood traumas, which held me back from moving forward. I was stuck knowing only one way to deal with people who were not my family. I became trapped in my past, deceived by my false beliefs. I was blind to the harm my action caused, blind to the criminal founders I constantly enforced on others. By the time I got my first gun, I had already become a human monster. I was a victim who had turned into a victimizer. My 38 special gave me a feeling of power greater than any alcohol. I had the ultimate power over another person, the power of life and death. I feared nothing and no one, not even losing my own life. Sadly, having a gun in my possession evidently led me to take the life of another human being. Now, after sitting in prison for countless years, I am being given a second chance. Yet, I lost so much. Yes, my tears are constant.